Okay. Now, before going into the topics at hand, we should first analyze the areas from which the topics are generally asked, right? When you talk about current affairs, so there are two specific areas. If you focus on the UPSC, yes, definitely one is the static content. Okay, and the static content we do cover the same, right? We do cover the topic from the static content in your prelims mentorship, and then it is the pure current affairs based. Okay, so these are two areas in which the questions are asked in your UPSC prelims, right? Now, when you talk about only the current affairs part, what are the certain areas? It is not all comprehensive, but certain specific areas that you should definitely keep in mind. Okay, now these are all based on your PYQs. Okay, so if we have any agreement, okay, any agreement with any other nation, MOU is there, definitely you need to focus on that aspect. Okay, similarly, if there is any summit involved, certain summit regarding G20 this year is there, so definitely you need to focus on the same, the initiatives taken, if there is any declaration on that part. Okay, UNEP statements are important because all the environment related questions that are asked in your UPSC prelims, they come from this topic. Okay, climate talks is there, GI tag anyways important, UNESCO list. Okay, any dispute arises in the international level, any conflict is there, any uprising is there, any protest is there, any famine is there. Okay, all those are major issues that you need to focus upon. Okay, keyword first is there, you have to focus. Similarly, the president or prime minister, if they visit any country, if they visit any cultural place, you have to focus on the historical component of the same. Okay, similarly, when we talk about ancient medieval, yes, you have saints, travelers, okay, certain kingdoms and their cultures that they promoted. Okay, now when we talk about environment, yes, again, disaster, pollution, all of this comes under the questions that are generally asked, right? You have any coalition, alliance, especially from the environment topic again. Okay, they are important. Environment and infrastructure, they are important. Okay, now UN chief statements, they are important because they UN as well as WHO also. WHO, IMF, World Bank. Okay, their statements are important because they highlight the global issues of the world. Okay, so the question that was asked regarding one of the strife areas, that was a direct statement made by the UN chief. The question was asked in your 2023 paper. Okay, so initiatives of European Union, this we have already discussed why it is important from the prelim standpoint. Many questions have been asked regarding initiatives of European Union. Okay, organizations where India is part of, yeah, now marine issues are there or any conflict. Okay, so these are some broad areas where you should focus upon when you are reading the current affairs aspect. Okay, apart from this, there are other topics also which we'll discuss in the coming classes. Fine. All right, so having said this, let us directly jump into the topic at hand. Okay, so here I have a question for you from the topic agriculture. Okay, now this is a topic that we covered in the prelims mentorship. Okay, agriculture was an important topic. We covered that last week, last to last week. Okay, so based on it, I have a current affairs question for you. Okay, read the statements. You tell me which statement do you think might be correct. Okay, then I will tell you the current affairs aspect of it. Okay, so the first statement says India accounts for more than 90% of the world's turmeric trade. Okay, then you have Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu are among the states that produce the highest amount of turmeric in India. India is the largest consumer of turmeric in the world. Farmers in India receive minimum support price for turmeric as it is recognized as an agriculture crop. 3. Okay, fine. We have learned in the agriculture topic also minimum support price. So based on that also you can answer the question. 2 and 3, 3, okay. Fine. 2, 3, okay. 3, okay. 2 and 3. So definitely first you are able to negate. Now what about the second one? See, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, we are not saying they are the largest producers of turmeric. Okay, please understand this aspect. We are saying they are among the states that produce the highest amount. Okay, so can that be a possibility? Okay, even if you know ki yes, Maharashtra and Telangana are there, the largest one, we are not talking about the largest right now. Okay, we are talking about among the states. Okay, so definitely if one of these state is correct, most likely the second will also be correct. It is not definitely asked. Okay, so yes, 2 is correct here. 3 is correct, largest consumer. Now what about the fourth one? Farmers in India receive minimum support price. It is not, it is not there. What is the reason? Because turmeric is considered as a not in the list or considered as a spice, not a crop. Okay, so when we talk about minimum support price, we have 22 mandated crops and then you have sugarcane also. Fine. Okay, so now let us see the current affairs point of view. Why is it important from the current affairs point of view? Okay, so here, see, now this is an important topic. See, the National Turmeric Board. Okay, now already if you go through the previous year questions, you have seen this is a UPSC question. The question was asked on tea board in India. Okay, so here you have the central government has notified the establishment of a national turmeric board. Okay, so the focus is on definitely developing new markets to promote exports, but this is a very important news from the agriculture standpoint. Okay, now when we talk about the national turmeric board, who will be the chairperson? It will be designated by the center. Okay, it will be designated by the center. So the center will designate a chairperson for the board, and the members will be from Ministry of Ayush, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and Commerce and Industry also. Okay, so here again it is not headed by the Minister of Agriculture, it is appointed. Okay, so please note that point also. Okay, now the board will also have a secretary who is appointed by the Department of Commerce. Okay, now when you talk about the turmeric market in India, there are certain facts that you should definitely note. Okay, the first and the foremost thing is India dominated the global turmeric market with 62% of the world's turmeric trade. Okay, so here if the examiner is focusing on the statement, it would be more than half. Okay, more than 50% of the trade is of the global turmeric market is dominated by India. That would be a correct statement. I hope this is clear. Okay. Similarly, the primary export destinations that are there, it is Bangladesh, UAE, USA, and Malaysia. Okay. Now the largest turmeric producing states, yes, you should focus on the Maharashtra, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Okay. India is the largest producer, consumer, as well as exporter also of turmeric. More than 30 varieties of turmeric are grown in India and in over 20 states. Now, this is also important. Just as we saw in PVTG's question, it is spread over these many states. So, grown over how many states? This also is an important fact. Do not just limit it to 4 states. Okay, they are grown, maybe not in a viable scale, but still it is grown. Okay, and turmeric is not recognized as an agriculture crop. Okay, so important facts regarding the turmeric market, please go through the same. Fine. So the current affairs component is the National Turmeric Board. Fine. Okay. Come to the next topic. The next important topic is, so we have done one topic from agriculture. Now we are doing the second topic from education. Okay. Now this is one of the UPSC questions asked in your engineering services exam. Okay. You can see here, National Education Policy question. Already asked in your UPSC also, in engineering services also. So National Education Policy is of much importance, not just from the prelim standpoint, also from the main standpoint. It has been asked in your mains, also from the interview standpoint. Okay, so whenever we talk about education, especially any initiative taken on the implementation of objectives of national education policy, it becomes very, very important. Okay, so here based on it, there is a current affairs which I have posted in the group also. That is automated permanent academic account registry. Okay, if you have gone through the article, tell me which statement do you think might be correct here? The first statement says registration for creating APAR ID is mandatory. It is a special ID system for all students in India. It will be linked with Academic Bank of Credit. 3, 2, 3. One, three, three. Okay. All right. So let us see here. So there is doubt between 2 and 3 and 3. Okay. See here. So here again, from the current affairs point of view, you have automated permanent academic account registry. Okay. So as the name suggests, it is automated, it is permanent, and it stores your what? Academic credits. Okay. So it is a special ID system for all students in India. Okay. It is part of One Nation, One Student ID initiative taken by the Government of India under the National Education Policy. Okay. So every student in India would get a lifelong per ID. Okay. So here, what is the purpose of such an ID? It is basically to ensure that all the credits that a student has, be it formal in nature or informal in nature, both of them are directly linked to this ID system. Okay. So it will serve as a gateway to DigiLocker so that students can store their important data in digital format. Okay. Now, what is important for you here is this statement. Okay. That is only first party sources that issue certificates will be allowed to deposit credits into the system. Okay. The only ones which have been recognized to give credits, only those people will be allowed to deposit credits for a student. Okay. Now, this is directly linked to academic bank credit, and the registration for it is voluntary in nature. Okay. Now, another important point that you should note here is this aspect. The credits from both formal or informal learning, students would be able to put them under the APAR ID. Okay. So please focus on the same. Now, when we talk about minors, yes, parental consent is given. Student also has the option to ensure that they can stop sharing their information with respective parties. Okay, so that aspect is also there with them. Okay, now if a student changes school, yes, he can transfer all their data of the academic bank of credit through by sharing the APAR ID. Okay, so under one umbrella system, all the all the digital credits that are there, it is stored of the student. Okay, so what are major aspects we have to focus upon is all students they can enroll under it, but the registration is voluntary. It is not mandatory. The second is only first party people who can actually give credits, they are only allowed to enter into this registry. Okay, and it recognizes both formal and informal learning. Okay, three important aspects. Fine. Okay. All right. So the next topic is regarding economics now. Okay. So directly we are talking about cash reserve ratio. Why? Because see, in 2023, the question was regarding, this was your UPSC 2023 question. Okay. Informal training is there. Okay. Directly that is not education, informal training, Nishan. कि आपके पास training है because let's say you have some form of let's say you belong to a family which has a specific, they have a specific profession. Because of that, you have an informal training there. So if you go to any person that recognizes this training, okay, तो वो जो certificate देगा वो directly इसके अंदर आ जाएगा. This it will come under upper ID. Are you getting this? Okay, you did not go for the formal system of training. For example, you know, if you have welding, if your father is a welder, he may teach you. Okay, so you know it informally. It is not, you did not go for a formal training there. Okay, so the institute directly recognizes your skill. Okay, so whatever is that credit, it will be included. Fine. Okay, now this is your UPSC 2023 question regarding Reserve Bank of India. Which of the following activities is considered to be part of sterilization? Okay, so all the monetary policies that are there taken by RBI, that becomes important, and every year one question is asked from the same topic. Okay, so here, yes, open market operations is there, statutory liquidity ratio is there, cash reserve ratio is there. Okay, many questions have been asked in the previous year questions. Okay, so now based on it, I have a question for you regarding cash reserve ratio. Okay, you tell me which one is correct here. The cash reserve ratio refers to the share of net demand and time liabilities that banks have to hold as liquid assets, that banks have to hold as balances with the RBI, that banks have to hold as part of their cash reserves, the ratio of cash holding to reserves of the bank. B, C, okay. B. 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 ठीक है. समुदाय. Okay. A. So here there is doubt between A, B, C. 3. Okay. So here, when we talk about cash reserve ratio, it is the reserves that you keep with what? The Reserve Bank of India. Okay. So answer is B. Fine. All right. Now, why this is important? Because you have the Reserve Bank of India. It has announced that it would discontinue the incremental cash reserve ratio in a phased manner. Okay. Now, what is incremental cash reserve ratio? Simply, it was implemented by the RBI when the government demonetized the 2000 rupee notes. Okay. So when the government demonetized the 2000 rupee notes, so basically there was surplus in the economic system, in the banking system. Okay. So to absorb the surplus liquidity, RBI basically had 10% more of incremental cash reserve ratio that the bank had to keep with themselves. Okay, they could not lend the same. Okay, so RBI announced ICRR as a temporary measure to absorb excess liquidity from the banking system. Okay, now why was this needed? Because there was a return of 2000 rupees banknotes to the banking system. Okay. At the same time, RBI also transferred its surplus to the government, and there was increase in government spending. Okay. So there is clear-cut inflation going on, because of which the RBI announced incremental cash reserve ratio. Okay. But because of this announcement, recently it was observed that the surplus liquidity was anyways observed, but there was now a deficit. Okay, so the banking system liquidity turned deficit for the first time in the current fiscal. Now, when that happened, the RBI said, okay, we will discontinue this incremental cash reserve ratio now. Okay, so that the funds are available for the government to spend on social welfare. Okay, so this is the initial primary objective, was to absorb the surplus liquidity that was there, and then now it is discontinuing the same in a phased manner. Okay, so please go through this again from the current affairs point of view. It is important. Okay, now what is cash reserve ratio? It is basically the minimum amount of total deposits which bank have to maintain as cash reserves with Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so here banks cannot use this amount for lending or investment purpose. Fine. All right, so this is again from the current affairs point of view. Okay, now another topic, that is zero coupon, zero principal. Now, why we are covering this? Because of the keyword first, that's all. Okay, so here you have an organization, that is Unnati Foundation. Okay, it is a not-for-profit organization. It is now going to be the first entity in India to list on a social stock exchange. Okay, it will be based on zero coupon, zero principal bond. Okay, so here what happens is basically any not for profit organization, if it wants to raise the capital, it can directly issue bonds. Okay, and the persons who are willing to donate the same, they can directly buy bonds of the entities. Okay, so here there is no interest that will be given to the donor. Okay, so that is why it is zero coupon, and the principal also is not repaid. Okay, generally in bonds, what happen? First, you get certain form of interest, and after the requisite time frame, you get the principal also back. But in this case, because you are donating the same, you're buying the bond, but there is no interest that you will get, or your principal also will not be given back. It is simply a form of donation that is happening. But then why is it being promoted? So that there is increased transparency when we talk about NGOs, or when we talk about not-for-profit organizations. Okay, so it is basically a financial instrument. Okay, and which will be listed on the social stock exchange. Okay, so it is just here the borrowing entity does not have to pay interest, and at the same time it does not have to pay principal either. Okay, so social stock exchanges, it was first cleared by SEBI, and they will basically list securities that will raise money for non-profit or for-profit social enterprises. Okay, so the first entity, again, if the UPSC is asking the question on the same, it will be based on statement. statement based question. Okay, statement 1 is given, statement 2 is given. Okay, statement 1 is true. Okay, no, simple donation. Okay, it's not, you cannot claim credits on the same. Okay, fine. So this is the major aspect. Fine. Okay. Now, what about this one? See here. No, it is just notified, Pramada. Okay, it's just notified. Once it's being implemented, we'll know. Okay, right now it is not. Okay, it's just being notified. That's it. Fine. Okay, so we have covered agriculture, we have covered economics, we have covered education. Now we are focusing on an MOU. Okay, some bilateral agreement. So here you can see this is again a UPSC question. India signed a deal with certain nation, which is that country. Okay. Similarly, from current affairs point of view, India recently co-chaired the first summit level meeting. Okay, of Strategic Partnership Council. So with which country? Saudi. Okay. Okay. See. So yes, this is Saudi Arabia. Fine. Okay, now why this is important? Because yes, you have the Prime Minister of India who is meeting the Prince. Okay, so this is important. Okay. So yes, the leaders also chaired the first summit level meeting of the India Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council. Okay. Now, because of this Strategic Partnership Council, India is now the fourth country with which Riyadh has now formed a partnership. Okay, after UK, France, and China. Okay, so this was first established in 2019, but yes, the on the Prime Minister level meet, it has happened for the first time in 2023. Okay. So go through this. Now, again, when we talk about Strategic Partnership Council, the basic interest between India and Saudi Arabia is focusing on refineries. Okay. So first is refineries, second is investment. Okay. Now, in the Strategic Economic Council, the major agreement that was reached was regarding the implementation of the West Coast Refinery project. Okay, so this West Coast Refinery project, it is currently supposed to be built in the Ratnagiri district, especially in Maharashtra, by three part three parties. One is India is there involved. Second is UAE. The third one is Saudi. Okay, so involvement of parties in this refinery project. Okay, so this was first proposed in 2015, and it is stipulated to be established in Ratnagiri district. Okay, Barsu village. So this is the major topic that was discussed in the Strategic Partnership Council. Okay. Now, similarly, they focused upon implementation of the refinery project. Anand. Okay, West Coast mein you have to develop a refinery project. Okay, it is basically an initiative of three parties involved: India, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi. Okay, Three parties are there. So here this is being done by Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum Corporation, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation. From Saudi Arabia, it is Saudi Arabia Oil Company, and then you have Abu Dhabi National Oil Company also. Okay, so all of them are trying to create a refinery cum petrochemical complex in the Ratnagiri district. Fine. So why it was not implemented? It was first proposed in 2015. Still, it was not implemented because of the because the locals were against it. Okay, so that is why it got delayed. After that, COVID was there. Okay, so now they are trying to implement the same in a faster manner. Okay, now what should you focus on from the prelims point of view? It is the refineries in India. This is very, very important. Okay, so recently you might have observed in UPSC the codes that are asked on ports, the port, the questions that are asked on solar farms directly. How many are correctly matched? Okay, only one pair, only two pair, only three pair, only four pair. Okay, so you should clearly know the refineries in India, states that are there, and their respective refineries. Okay, so please go through them. Okay, a question can be asked in your test 4 also. I'll ask a question on the same in test 4 also. Okay, so that you can by heart. Okay, so there is a map also here. Okay, so now again, if a question is asked, all the refineries of India, they are located only on the coastal states of India. Would that be a correct statement? They are located in the coastal states. It is wrong. Okay? Yeah, definitely. So those kind of statements also you should focus upon. Okay, observations you have to focus upon. Fine. So please go through this, the refineries map. Okay, the next important topic, that is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. Now, why are we focusing on the same? Because in your 2023, if you remember, one of the question was regarding BCIM corridor. It connects which two cities? Okay. Similarly, trilateral highway. It connects which two cities? East-West corridor. If you remember this. Okay. So this was your UPSC 2023 question. Okay, so here you are creating, yes, an India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, which is seen as an alternative to BRI. Now, BRI also asked. Okay, so this becomes important. So this was announced on the sidelines of your G20 meeting. Okay, so it is signed between European Union and 7 countries are part of it. That is India, US, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, France, Germany, and Italy. Okay, now there is a certain issue between Greece and Turkey right now. Okay, because here, what is the major issue? So see here, when we talk about India Middle East Economic Corridor, one of the corridor passes through Greece port. Okay, and currently there is no clear-cut exclusive zone demarcated between Greece and Turkey. So that is a major point of contention. Okay, so Turkey also wants to join or wants to participate in this economic corridor, but it wants to ensure that this economic zone is first demarcated. So that is a point of contention. Okay, so here, what are the major areas that are being included? So this is important. That is Mundra port is there. Here Mumbai port is there. Okay. Then this is the sea route. Then you have rail connectivity through UAE and Saudi Arabia. Finally, again from the port at Haifa, you go for Greece, and from here you go for the European Union. Trade in European Union countries. Okay. So this is important. Okay. So please do cover the same. Okay. So here respective ports have been mentioned. The respective countries have been mentioned, and their respective, here Jebel Ali port is there, the respective rail networks are also mentioned. Okay, so please go through this. Okay, prepare it along the lines of the question asked in UPSC 2023 regarding BCIM question. Okay, it connects which ports? Fine. Now here, okay, when we talk about the issue regarding Greece and Turkey, why is it still a major point of contention? Because they agree they focus on the Treaty of Lausanne. Okay, this is a common agreement between Turkey and Greece, but this was signed after a 4-year war, but it did not specify the maritime boundaries or the status of islands in the Aegean Sea. Okay, so this is the point of contention right now. Okay, so treaty, just remember, signed between which countries? Okay, from the current affairs point of view. Similarly, when you talk about here, yes, again, another channel, pardon this channel, okay, Sea of Marmara, important, it connects which two seas? Okay, Black Sea, Aegean Sea. Here there is Bosphorus Strait. Okay, so this Gallipoli Peninsula. Okay, so this, just remember these aspects. Okay, so that is the reason the point has been given. Okay, Sea of Marmara, important. Okay, connects which two water bodies. Okay, all right. Now, after this, yes. So the Indian Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, this is basically part of the Partnership for Global Infrastructure Investment. Okay, so it is a US-led initiative, basically a counter to, it is running counter to BRI initiative. Okay, so this infrastructure plan that is there, it was first announced in 2021 during the G7 summit. Okay, so if the examiner is focusing on the same, he can interchange G7 summit with what? It will be G, exactly, G20. Okay, so remember the same. Okay, so first announced in 2021, formally launched in 2022. Okay, during the G7 summit. Okay, now this infrastructure plan, again, the focus is on being a counter to BRI and focusing on critical infrastructure, financing critical infrastructure in developing countries. Okay, so this is the major aspect. Okay, so the infrastructure plan is part of Build Back Better initiative. Okay, so please cover this aspect also. Fine. All right, so now we come to the next topic. The next one is conflicts. Okay, so you can see here, every year, whenever a conflict is there, the question has been asked in your UPSC. Okay, this Ukraine is there, directly it is a question in 2023, borders of Ukraine. Okay, Somalia is there, again, strife. Okay, Nagorno-Karabakh region is there. So directly conflict-based questions, all three are asked in your UPSC 2023. Okay, when Afghanistan was an issue, UPSC 2022. Okay, similarly, Golan Heights, two-state solution. All of these are topics that have been asked in UPSC. Okay, now based on the same premise, a question has been asked, that is Camp David Accords. Okay, this is often heard in news. It is signed between which two countries? Okay, Israel and Egypt, Israel and Jordan, Israel and Syria, and Jordan and Syria. Yes, Anand. Israel. Okay, definitely Israel is there, and you have Egypt also. Okay, now why are we focusing on the same? Because of the recent attack. Okay, so here the recent Hamas attack is there. Not able to see. Okay, no. What about now, Anand? Is the slides visible to everyone? Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. All right. So next is, thank you. You have Yom Kippur War. Okay, again, 50 years ago. Okay, 50 years, multiples of 25 important. 50 years ago, an attack happened between, yes, So this war was what was it about? It was basically a coordinated attack between Egypt, Syria on Israel. Okay, so the Hamas attack that recently happened, it is being compared to this war. Okay, so it is also known as the Fourth Arab-Israeli War. Okay, so now finally, after this war was waged, basically Israel took lot of lands. Okay, now after this, there was a signing of the agreement, that is 1978 Camp David Accord. Okay, so based on this, Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, and the 1979 Egyptian-Israel Peace Treaty was the first instance of an Arab country recognizing Israel as a state. Okay, so basically you had the Six-Day War to seek revenge for the same. Egypt and Syria launched a coordinated attack on which is known as this war. Okay, basically both of them lost, and then they signed the 1978 Camp Davis Accord. Okay, so please go through this again. The important war, important terminologies you should focus upon. Fine. Yes, again, from your UPSC standpoint, for the last 2 years, 2022 as well as 2023, directly whenever conflict region is asked, the border question has been asked. Okay, so borders of Israel, you should be very clear here. Okay, does Saudi Arabia share border with Israel? Okay, so this has to be very clear. It does not. Okay, the rest are clear. That is, Egypt is there, Jordan is there, you have Syria, Lebanon. Okay, so please cover the same. So if at all a question is asked, again, how many are correctly matched? Okay, only one pair, only two pair, only three pair. Okay, so that aspect you have to cover. Fine. Okay, now, okay, so we have seen agriculture, economics, we have seen education, we have seen conflicts, international relation, agreements we have seen. Okay, now we come to culture. Okay, now why we are covering these broad topics is because this is the first class. Okay, first class of your current affairs. So we are just giving you that how you should cover the topics. That's all. Okay. So now from the culture topic, we have a question for you. Consider the following statements regarding visual art. Okay. Which statements do you think might be correct here? Okay. The Hoysala style developed in the southern region of Karnataka. The Hoysala art may be said to be the starting point in the temple of early Chalukyas. And then an important monument employing this art is Keshava Temple in Bellur. Which statements do you think might be correct here? One, two. No issues, no issues, no, not at all a problem. Okay, exactly. Where is Belur located, by the way? Which state? Karnataka, right? So if you go with one, हो सकता है, possibility है कि ऐसा एक monument रहेगा. ठीक है, maybe not, है ना? Yeah, yeah. See, all three are correct. Okay. Yes. So let's see. All three statements are correct. Okay. Now see, Keshava. That is again a very basic name. Okay, it's a very basic name of a temple. बहुत सारा names, बहुत सारे temples ऐसे नाम से जाने जाते हैं. Okay, this is a very common name, Keshava. Okay. ठीक है, नहीं आता. You can leave it also in the exam. Okay, no problem. Acha, now why are we covering this topic? See, from the current affairs point of view. So you have three Hoysala era temples in Karnataka, which recently made it to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Okay, so an important current affairs. Okay, under the collective entry of sacred ensembles of the Hoysalas. Okay, now when you focus upon temples, what should be the focus area? You have studied PYQs. What should be the focus area? जब आप temples की बात करते हैं, one would be dynasty, definitely. कौन से डायनेस्टी में बना गया? What else? Built over which time period? Yeah, basic century you should know. The style, very good. Style is important. Architecture, yes, it goes for which architecture? What else? Which king? Very good. Patronized it. बहुत बढ़िया. What else? Special feature, yeah, unique. Very good. Lali river, that is also important. Okay. What else? The material it is made from. Very good. ठीक है. यूनेस्को इज ठीक है. एसोसिएटेड ठीक है. नेशनल पार्क ओके. What else? A major aspect you have missed here. Exactly. Which religion is it promoting? Religion or which sect? Is it Vaishnavism, Shaivism? Okay. So if you see the Chausat Yogini temple question that was asked, there was what? It is one of the statements was it promotes Vaishnavism. Okay, form of worship. Okay, so that aspect also you have to focus. Yes, UNESCO site तभी वो important है. Okay. Another aspect would be if there is any form of morals. When we talk about temples, we talk about morals. Okay. Another form would be what? Any specific statue is there. Okay, any specific statue is there, or here material. Another one will be statue. By statue, I mean any famous sculpture. Okay, we talk about any famous sculpture, especially when we talk about Vijayanagara kingdom. Okay, Vijayanagara kingdom, we focus upon Dwarpalas and all. Okay, be it Vijayanagara, be it Chola. Okay, so we focus on those aspects. Okay, so these are specific areas that you should keep in mind when you focus on the temple aspect. Okay, so here you have three specific important temples. Chennakeshava temple, here you have Keshava temple, again both located in Bellur. Then you have Hoysala Veshwara temple in Halebidu. Okay, so this was built in the 12th and 13th century. So if you remember, one UPSC 2023 question was regarding what? Direct dynasties also it has asked, right? Recently the trend is there. Which of the following dynasties belong to the early 8th century? If you remember the question. In which one of them was what? Hoysala. One option was Hoysala and there were three more options. You know, one was Kakatiya was there. You know, and other two options were also there. Okay? So dynasty point of view also important. Fine. All right. So now let us focus on the three temples that have been mentioned here. Please cover them in detail. Okay. Chennakeshava temple, Belu. So here it is dedicated to Lord Vishnu. Okay. Consecrated during which period? By which king? Vishnu Vardhana. Okay. On the banks of which river? Okay, so the temple Yagachi River in Belur, it depicts scenes of secular life. Acha, another important point that you should focus upon temple is yes, the theme of secularism. That is, if there are other religious themes also here. Okay, for example, here when we talk about this temple, There are many themes of Shaivism also, even though this is dedicated to Vishnu. There is themes of Shaivism, also of Jainism as well as Buddhism. So it shows the secular aspect. Okay, and definitely there is certain depictions of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puranas. All basic temples that are there, especially when you talk about South Indian temples, they will have certain form of mural paintings of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puranas. That is common. It is bound to be there. Okay, that will be there. Yes. Now, the next one is Keshava Temple, again located in Bellur. So here, this is again dedicated to Vishnu, Vaishnava shrine, but located on the banks of river Kaveri. Okay. So built on star-shaped platform, you can clearly see here, built on star-shaped platform. Okay. Again here display there is of the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavad Purana is also displayed on the temple. Fine. The next one is Hoysaleshwar temple in Alivedu. Now, why this one is important? Because this is considered to be the largest Shiva temple built by this dynasty. Okay, so this is much more important than the other two. Okay, so here also you have themes like from Vaishnavism, Jainism, but not Buddhism. If at all the examiner is focusing on the same. Okay, it was sponsored by King Vishnuvardhana. Again, okay, and finally, again, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavad Purana are depicted in the temple. Okay, so all these temples nearly about 12th century, made on the 12th century, and made by the same king, Vishnuvardhana. Okay, only this one I think it is different. Somanatha. Otherwise, Hoysaleshwar temple is also built by Vishnuvardhana himself. Okay, so please go through this. Inscribed in your UNESCO, it becomes important. Fine. Now, when we talk about their architecture, again, there are specifics. Yeah, so they hold power in Karnataka from this century to this century, that is 10th to 14th. Okay. Now, what is the notable feature of the architecture? So, the use of the material, as one of the students rightly pointed out, the use of the material is very important. Use of soapstone. Now, this is the reason why you see lot of sculptures because it is easy. You can easily create sculptures on this material, soapstone. Okay, so the sculptures include animal scenes of daily life, depictions of epics and Puranas. Okay, so that is a feature of Hoysala architecture. Similarly, different styles are also there. That is the Dravidian style, the Vesara style, as well as Nagara style. Okay, star-shaped platform, again, a unique feature. And the most important point regarding Hoysala architecture is here the sculptures are actually signed by sculptors. Okay, that is who created the same. This is something that you see in this temple, Hoysala temples. Okay, generally when you talk about the Ajanta, Ellora, all those temples here, do you observe this? Are these sculptors named there? When you talk about Ajanta, Ellora, do you find the sculptors being named? Is that the, it is not a unique feature, okay? It is generally जितना भी आप temples देखते हैं नहीं sculptors name नहीं किया जाता है generally, okay? It is a collaborative effort. It is not mentioned, okay? जब आप अजंता एलोरा की बात करते हैं, okay? But here same goes for cholas also, okay? But here we observe कि yes, they were given that right, okay? Who created the same? So that is an interesting feature. Please go through the same, okay? Or okay, the next one is these Vaishnava and Shaiva shrines. They were built at the time Jainism was prominent in the region. So this temples mark a turn towards Hinduism. Okay. Finally, the capital of Hoysala, it was raided by Malik Kafur. And again, Delhi Sultanate is an important topic from Alauddin Khilji. Okay, so please cover this aspect also. If you cover, especially if you see UPPSC questions, they focus on Alauddin Khilji a lot. Okay, but UPSC focuses on the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, till now the questions have been asked regarding the revenue system or the administration system. Okay, but still, if the trend is followed here, so that is the reason I've included this content also. Okay, so Hoysala architecture, important temples we have covered, and the important unique features also. Please go through that. Okay, the next one. Next one is again something regarding conflict. Okay, so this is exactly your UPSC question due to climate, climate crisis. Okay, this is the exact statement which was made by UN chief. Okay, UN chief made the statement and exactly asked in your 2023. Okay, now based on the same, a question has been created here. You tell me which one of the following regions is a disputed oil-rich region spanning the border of Sudan and South Sudan. Okay, and is in news because people are grappling with climate crisis, economic hardship, and limited access to healthcare. This is the major point of contention right now and mentioned in UN. Any idea? ठीक है Tigray. Okay. B. Tigray. Fine. B. Great. Okay. Yeah. So here there might be doubt between these two. Yeah. Here it is. B. Okay. Now what you can do is now why we are covering this aspect is see, especially conflict regions in in Africa. Okay. In African continent, this becomes important. Okay. In Africa, if there is any conflict, especially what are the areas that you will focus upon? One is conflict. When you talk about the regions in Africa which are in news, what is the topic will you cover? One is conflict. What else? Regime changes there. Yes, definitely. What else? Famine is there. Disaster is there. Yes. What else? African Union is there. That is there. I'm saying news from the news point of view. Exactly. Very good. That is climate disasters if they are happening. Okay. Some lake is drying out because of climate change. This becomes very important from your prelim standpoint. Okay. If there is any natural calamity which is happening due to, again, climate induced, it is important. Okay, so this topic specifically you should focus upon is down to earth. All the questions that have been asked from this topic, they are there in your down to earth. Okay, so जब भी free time मिलता है, you can search for the same or directly go for conflict regions in Africa. Directly Wikipedia you will get. Okay, at least go through the names. You should know कि अच्छा ऐसा ऐसा regions है which are in conflict. And focus on the oil rich countries, oil rich regions. Okay, that is the major reason why. Okay, resource बहुत ज़्यादा है and that is the reason we have conflict there. ठीक है, all right. ये short videos में भी रहता है but just type it out ना, search. Anyways we will do that in current affairs, we will do that for you. आपको भी जब free time मिलता है you can go. Okay, down to earth का videos भी आप देखो, those are also covered. Okay, exact specifically Gucci question that was there, it was there in your down to earth. Okay, so it might be of help also. YouTube इतना देखते हो तो follow relevant channels, it might be of help in prelims. Fine. And you don't need to cover magazine, Archana. Okay, that is not at all required. Only short search. Search is enough. Google search. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about Abe, yes. Why it was in news? Yeah, he said India. One second. Yeah, so India deployed a woman-only platoon of peacekeepers to the UN mission in Abe. Okay, so it is basically a contested region between Sudan and South Sudan. Okay, so this has been mentioned. Please go through the same. Okay, now we come to the static aspect. Now, so this week the topic was representation of people act. Okay, so we are talking about polity now. Okay, so representation of people act important from your prelim standpoint. Already a UPSC question that has been asked. Okay, so based on the same, created a question for you. You tell me which statements do you think might be correct here. Okay, the Representation of People Act was introduced by Law Minister B.R. Ambedkar, and the other two statements are also given. Okay, you tell me which statements might be correct here. 2 and 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 2 and 3. Okay, so most of you are going with 2 and 3 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3. Okay. Okay. All right, so let us try to understand this question through these slides. Okay. So yes, you have Representation of People Act 1951. Okay. So why we are focusing on the same? We are only focusing on the current affairs part right now. Okay. So what is the reason? Here, yeah, recently a member of the Congress party, that is Rahul Gandhi, was disqualified on being convicted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment in the defamation case. Okay. So that is the reason this becomes very important. Okay. Supreme Court stayed his disqualification also. Okay. So the notice issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat, it disqualified the member based on two basic premises, that is Article 1021E and the Representation of People Act 1951. Okay, so when we talk about the Representation of People Act 1951, we talk about what? Basically, it deals with what are the qualifications and the disqualifications, that it lays down those grounds. Okay, that is qualifications and disqualifications of members of House of Parliament or state legislature, that is given in your Representation of People Act. Fine. Isme, what is important from you, from our standpoint, is this. Okay, so when we talk about disqualification of members of Parliament, either they can be disqualified under, yes, Article 1021. Okay, if it is a state legislature, it is 190 something, 190(2)(1), something like that. Okay. The next one is defection. Okay. Here also they can be disqualified. Okay. And the third one is through Representation of People Act. Okay, so the basic premises for disqualification of members of parliament is these three premises. Okay, so here when we talk about Article 1021, so what are the grounds of disqualification of MP? Okay, so first is, yeah, if he holds any office of profit, if he is of unsound mind, if he is undischarged insolvent, if he is not a citizen of India or he has taken up a citizenship of a foreign country. Okay, and he is disqualified by any law made by parliament. Okay, so it was under this provision that you see Rahul Gandhi was disqualified. Okay, disqualified by or under any law made by parliament. Okay, so basically five premises. One is office of profit, unsound mind, undischarged insolvent, not a citizen of India, or acquired a citizenship of a foreign state, and finally disqualified due to a law made by parliament. Okay, now the other aspect of disqualification could be from due to representation of people act. Okay, so here you have specific section 8 which deals with disqualification due to conviction due to certain offenses. Okay, so here there are three specific provisions that you should focus on. The first section 8.1, it is if any member has been found out that he is promoting enmity between two groups, or he is engaged in bribery, okay, or he is unduly influencing an election. In all these premises, if he is convicted, his membership could be disqualified under section 8.1. Okay, so here, if a member of a political party is found to be involved in hate speech, can he be disqualified under RPA? It will be true. Okay, so that would come under what? Promoting enmity between two groups. Okay, so enmity, bribery, undue influence, or personation, if you're trying to personate someone else during an election. Okay, now note a point here: defamation does not lie under this list. Okay, otherwise anyone can say, okay, he has defamed me, and he that would directly call for disqualification of an MP. Okay, so that is the reason defamation does not fall under this list. Okay, now the second offense is if a member of a parliament has been found that he is engaged in hoarding, profiteering, adulteration of food, drugs, or he is engaged in dowry, due to which he has been sentenced to at least 6 months. In this case, also he can be disqualified. Okay, so a person who is a member of parliament who is engaged in hoarding, profiteering, adulteration, or engaged in dowry, because after which he has been sentenced to at least 6 months because of the offense, here also he can be disqualified. Okay, now we come to the third provision, the main provision under which you have disqualified. Rahul Gandhi was disqualified. So here, a person who was convicted of any offense for which the sentence is 2 years or more, that is not less than 2 years. In such a case, he stands disqualified. Okay, and still he shall continue to be disqualified even after 6 years after his release. Okay, for example, he has been convicted of an offense and he has been given 3 years imprisonment. Then, after he does his 3 years, when he comes back, still after that 6 years, he will be disqualified. Okay, only after 9 years, completion of 9 years, he can again run. Okay, so disqualification due to RPA is based on three major premises. One is enmity between groups. Second is hoarding, adulteration, dowry. The third one is if there is any imprisonment of 2 years or more, then he can be disqualified. Okay, so these are the major aspects. Okay, now recently what has happened is earlier there was a provision that was there for the legislators. Okay, so earlier there was section 8(4) of RPA, where if any person was disqualified because of the above mentioned offenses, okay, for 3 months his disqualification did not take effect. Okay, yes, Mirza, it is 6 years after completion of the sentence. Okay, he will still be disqualified. Okay, that is under 8(3). Okay, now what was the remedy available? Yes, so earlier 8(4), section 8(4) of RPA was there, where disqualification takes effect only after 3 months have elapsed after the date of conviction. So after the court has declared the crime, it has declared conviction, it has hold the person guilty, then 3 months time was given and lawmakers could file an appeal against the sentence before the High Court. So this was there earlier. But Supreme Court in its 2013 ruling, especially Lily Thomas case, they struck down section 8(4) of the RPA as unconstitutional. Okay, so currently the legislators, convicted legislators, they do not have this provision to protect them. Okay, so recently after Rahul Gandhi was reinstated, there are demands in the political circle that the section 8(4) should be reinstated. Okay, so that is the reason you should note this point. Okay, now the disqualification that has been given by the court can be reversed if a higher court grants a stay on the conviction or decides the appeal in favor of the convicted lawmaker. Okay, so let's say the lower court has given an order, then Supreme Court can stay that order, or it can say yes, the observations that have been made by the lower court that are not in favor. Okay, it can rechange that. Okay, so here the stay cannot merely be a suspension of sentence, but a stay of conviction should be there. Okay, so please go through this aspect also. Fine. So a higher court can stay the conviction. And now, because of the Lily Thomas case, it is now, what is the current provision? Current provision is if any MP is implemented for more than 2 years, if he is imprisoned for more than 2 years, direct disqualification right now. Okay, so that is the current provision. Fine. He is disqualified immediately. Exactly. Okay, so he does not have a recourse right now. Fine. Okay, now what about this one? Now this is a Supreme Court observation that has been made, clearly a flawed observation, but because it is an observation made by Supreme Court, it becomes important. Okay, so what Supreme Court has said is, it has observed that no one in India votes for a candidate based on their educational qualification, and thus providing false information about an electoral candidate's qualification cannot be considered as a corrupt practice under section 123(2) and 123(4) of RPA Act. Okay, so this is an observation made by Supreme Court. Definitely, there is a lot to question that we can question here regarding the observation, but this is our current observation. You should go with the same. Okay, so section 123 of the RPA Act also clearly mentions what are corrupt practices. Okay, first is it includes bribery, undue influence if you are trying to create. Okay, if you are giving false information. Okay, if you are promoting enmity between the communities involved, and if you are not giving your expenditures also, if you are not declaring your expenditures that you did on elections, all of this comes under corrupt practices. Section 123 of the RPA Act. Okay. Now, section 123(2) specifically, it deals with what? If there is any person who goes for creating any direct or indirect influence, interference in an election, directly it is deemed as a corrupt practice. Okay, so if any, the undue influence means if you are trying to say if you do not vote for me, there would be threats of injury, or socially you will be boycotted, or there will be expulsion from any caste or community. If any leader says the same, he can be, his act will be declared as a corrupt practice under the RPA. Okay, similarly, section 123(4) also says if he makes false statements which indirectly affects the outcome of candidate election, that is also amounting to corrupt practice. Okay, if he fails to declare election expenses, or if he has any interest in government contract or works. Okay, so all these amount to corrupt practices under the RPA and can be a cause for disqualification of MP. Not needed, just the premises you should know. Okay, more or less the premises you should know. Okay, yes. Do we need to remember section numbers? Not needed. Yeah. Does it include not fulfilling one's manifesto? No. Okay, one's manifesto could be, they can claim anything, but false information. Okay, so it is under this section. It is under this section that we observe. Okay, Supreme Court, APIL was APIL was submitted before the Supreme Court. Okay, and it is here that Supreme Court made this observation. Okay, now based on what we have just seen, which statements do you think might be correct here? The Representation of People Act 1951 was introduced in Parliament by Law Minister. Acha, this is correct statement. Okay, it is actually B.R. Ambedkar. Fine. Now what about this one? A person convicted of an offense dealing with hoarding or adulteration of food. That is correct. What other provisions are there? Hoarding is there, adulteration of food is there. Then drugs is there. Very good. What else? One more aspect is there, dowry. Okay, dowry is there, enmity is 8-1. Okay, if dowry is there and he is imprisoned for, sentenced for 6 months. Okay, enmity is there, undue influence is there, all of them. Okay, now what about the third statement? An electoral candidate providing false information is considered a corrupt practice. This would be wrong based on the current observation by Supreme Court. Okay, current observation by Supreme Court, that's all. Okay, maybe it might be changed in future. Fine. Okay, so here the answer is 1 and 2. Okay, all right. So with that, we basically end the class for today. Okay, so today's class was basically covering all the broad topics. Okay, all major topics that could be there. The next class, in the next week, we will cover more topics in detail. Fine. It will then we will focus on one area specifically, like that we will cover. Fine. All right. So with that, we end the class. If there is any doubt, that person can stay back. The rest of you can leave. Okay. The class is over for today.